So, let's talk about something really interesting: respect. What if I told you that respect isn't something you demand, but something you actually teach? It's not about being loud or forceful. It's a quiet, consistent practice built on your actions more than your words. Let's dive into how it's done.
This quote, this really gets to the very heart of it. Now hold on. This is not about blaming yourself for how other people act. Not at all. It's about empowerment. It's about flipping the script from being a passive recipient of whatever treatment you get to being the active guide who shows people how you deserve to be treated.
Okay, let's get this distinction really clear right from the start. On one side, you've got demanding respect. That's often loud, maybe a little arrogant, and honestly, it's usually temporary. But we're focusing on the other side, commanding respect. This is totally different. It's a quiet, authentic confidence that doesn't need to shout. It's earned, and because of that, it lasts.
So where do we even begin with all this? Well, the journey to earning respect from others, it always starts from within. You really can't teach a lesson you haven't learned yourself. Why? Because the way you treat yourself sets the entire standard for everyone else. It's the foundation.
Before you can teach anybody anything, you have to know your own material, right? You have to ask yourself these big questions. What do I truly value? What do I actually want out of this life, out of this relationship? And maybe the toughest one, what do I really deep down think I deserve? Answering these isn't selfish. It's absolutely essential groundwork.
So then these qualities, they basically become your external resume for respect. Your authenticity shows the world that you value who you are. Your integrity proves you're someone people can count on. Your confidence signals that you believe in yourself. You see, these aren't just feelings. They are actions that build this unshakable bedrock of self-respect.
Okay, so once you've built that solid internal foundation, what's next? Well, now you've got to provide a clear blueprint for others to follow. I mean, let's be real. People aren't mind readers. You have to show them the way.
A really helpful way to think about boundaries is by creating rules of engagement for your relationships. Now, this isn't about being all rigid and strict. It's just about creating clarity so that everyone knows where they stand and can interact with confidence. These rules could be simple things like we don't yell at each other, or we commit to actually listening.
And this right here is a perfect example of the difference between blame and a boundary. Saying, you never listen, well, that's an attack, and it just puts people on the defensive. But saying, I feel alone right now and would really appreciate your attention, that's different. You're identifying a feeling and you're expressing a need. That's how you teach effectively. You're not attacking, you're inviting them in. And here's something that's maybe even more powerful. It's not just about correcting bad behavior. It's about reinforcing the good stuff. When someone really listens to you or respects your time, take a second to acknowledge it and be specific, saying, hey, I really appreciate how you gave me your full attention just then. That strengthens the behavior. You get more of what you reward.
Okay, now this is where it gets really fascinating. Because some of the most profound lessons you'll ever teach about respect are taught without saying a single word. Your nonverbal cues and your subtle habits, they often speak way louder than any request you could ever make.
I mean, just think about your posture. Your body is constantly broadcasting these little messages. If you're slouching, it can suggest insecurity. But standing tall with your head held high, that communicates self-assuredness. It's this silent signal that teaches others you occupy your space with confidence and you value your own presence. You know, in a world where it feels like everyone is just waiting for their turn to talk, being a true active listener, that's like a superpower. When you give someone your full attention, no glancing at your phone, no interrupting, you make them feel incredibly valued. And by doing that, you're teaching them that listening is a two-way street.
Has this ever happened to you? Someone remembers some tiny little detail you mentioned in passing weeks ago? It feels amazing, right? It's such a powerful signal. It communicates that you see them as a whole person, not just a coworker or friend. It teaches them that you're someone who really sees and values people.
And the list of these quiet signals just goes on and on. Admitting you don't know something? That shows humility and it builds trust. Following through on a tiny promise, like sending that article you mentioned, that teaches people you're reliable. Every single one of these actions quietly informs others about your character, and it builds this deep, unspoken respect over time.
Okay, but this is a two-way street. It's just as important to be able to read the room and recognize the feedback that you're getting. So let's briefly look at the subtle signs that the level of respect in a relationship might be eroding, so you can know when your teaching might need a little adjustment.
As we go through this next list, try to think of this not as a reason to get paranoid, but more like a diagnostic tool. Recognizing these patterns can be the first clue you get that a dynamic has shifted and maybe something needs to be addressed.
These behaviors can be so subtle, but they are incredibly powerful. When people just stop asking for your input, or when "that's interesting" becomes a conversation ender, it's a huge sign. Being left out of the casual chats or constantly being fact-checked, these are all strong signals that trust and respect might have taken a hit.
And this quote from Carl Rogers, it just brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? The whole journey of teaching others how to treat you isn't really about forcing them to change. The paradox is that the real power, the real catalyst for change, comes from first respecting and accepting yourself. That's what makes everything else possible.
So this is the ultimate takeaway. This isn't about learning tactics to control other people. It's about a fundamental shift in how you carry yourself through the world. The most effective way to teach respect is to consistently, quietly, and confidently demonstrate your own self-worth. That becomes the standard that others will naturally rise to meet. So the only question left is, what standard are you setting?